the wealthy talking about, oh, I don't need that much money. Boss, you're wealthy already.
Who opens the door? Which way does he get out? Who goes to everything? I want to know everything. This is not what I came here to learn, to be honest. I wanted to learn the business of media. It's always the story.
Always the story. Hi, my name is Jaykumar Hariharan. I'm an executive coach, speaker, and author. Stories That Shift is a series of intimate conversations with leaders about what makes them tick. Stories are not what we say. Stories are who we are. And we are having a bunch of very, very interesting personalities in this series. And it's my pleasure to welcome Mehirr Nath Choppra on the show. Mehirr, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay. It's a pleasure to be here.
Mehirr, diving in, you've had such an interesting disparate set of experiences, be it real estate, hospitality, and the media industry. I'm fascinated to hear your story. How did this come about? What happened along the way?
Well, you're right. The story is fascinating. I like to say that I've had a very lucky life. I've had a very lucky career, a very lucky upbringing. It's just been amazing so far. So let me attempt to go through it. Let's see. I would very much like to start from where I come from.
Excellent.
That has made me the person that I am. So I'm just under 50. I live in Bangalore with my wife and two sons, 6 and 9-year-old boys. So I like to call myself a young father. For the record, yes, you know who you are. So I'm son of 2 journalists.
Wow.
And my father was, before he became a journalist, he was an army officer. He was injured in Bangladesh war, retired as a captain. My younger brother was in the army, injured in Kargil war, retired as a captain. I have 2 retired captains in my home. Very proud home, as you can imagine. I myself went to a military school.
Amazing.
My older sister and I, we both did the NCC thing all the way to the top, right? In fact, on the 26th January parade, there is a contingent of NCC. My sister was in it.
Wow. Amazing.
So, very proud nationalist, Deshbhakt. 20 years I was in Dubai. Twice a year I was at the Indian consulate. 15th August, 26th Jan.
Amazing.
Jhande ki salami, 7 a.m. No chance that Mehirr is not there.
Very good.
Thank you. So that was the upbringing in many senses. Plus, having journalists as parents is a very unique sort of upbringing.
Yep.
Right? Because their friends are all journalists, right? So every evening there are a bunch of journalists in our living room, right? Talking about stuff. We are getting exposed to amazing things, great things, scary things. We've heard stuff that can never be printed in newspapers, right? So it was a very, quickly we grew up that way. But because of that whole atmosphere, the thought process was very progressive, always at home.
Sure.
So mornings were really in the big garden, 4 chairs, 4 newspapers, cover to cover. Mom, dad, my sister and I, dogs, chai, cigarette. That was the upbringing, right?
Lovely.
Friends over all the time, friends like family. So we didn't have any family in Ahmedabad. And my parents had these dear friends who were called as our uncles and aunts. So their kids were our cousins.
Of course.
Right? So I have maybe 10 or 15 foster brothers and sisters.
Wow.
That's how we grew up, right?
Amazing.
There was always, playtime, laughter, food, right? But middle class, honest journalists, right? They don't make money.
I get that.
The real journalists, right? So I had a very proud Indian middle class upbringing, and that has shaped me a lot. The middle class upbringing is a unique upbringing.
Absolutely.
So that was really the upbringing. Education was, school was fun, as it should be. College was fun, as it should be.
Absolutely.
I did most of it in Ahmedabad in a group called Gujarat Law Society. Yes, big up. I spent, because I went there junior KG and I was there till graduation. Same group,
Wow.
right? Same university.
Oh.
I went away for a few years to the military school, but came back, and then I was with this group, education group, till graduation. Went to do an MBA in Pune at the Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies. A wonderful campus in Khadki, run by Brigadier Divekar, wonderful guy. Big up to my Sims people. So I go there sometimes to give lectures. It's really good fun to engage. So that was really the education side. But here's something interesting that happened while I was doing an MBA.
Mm-hmm.
So, I used to bunk a lot.
Sure.
I used to organize parties and all that, and it was fun. But one of my professors, a brand management professor, he caught me and he's like, "Listen, why are you such a rebel? Why aren't you attending classes? Why aren't you paying attention? You're smart, you're doing well in exams, but you don't pay attention in class." And I was like, "I'm getting bored. This is not what I came here to learn, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I wanted to learn the business of media. How to do the business of media, right? So I'm learning bits and pieces, but not enough." So he said, "Okay, you're not going to get this education here." And he gave me a genius idea. He goes, "Listen, for the next few years after you graduate, go find a company where you want to learn and take a job there. Work for a year, quit, move to another company where you want to learn. One more year, move to another company. 2, 3, 4 years, you'll have a solid education." You know what? I love the idea.
I think that was solid advice. And the fact that you took it and ran with it was even more encouraging, because at that point in your career, in fact, I was talking to some of the other guests and I was posing this question: how important is money at that point in time? But I'm so happy that you kind of chose learning over making a quick buck immediately. And that's beautiful. That's great fertilizer, to move forward.
Fair
Amazing.
enough.
Please continue.
It probably started because when we were kids, my sister's cupboard was here, my younger brother's cupboard was here, and they both had stickers, right? Mm-hmm. She had Barbies, he had He-Man and Batman. I had nothing, right? I didn't like those stickers.
Sure.
I didn't like the whole franchise business.
Got it.
Right? So she used to feel bad and she would put stickers on my cupboard, but she's mom, right? So she would put sayings.
Sure.
Right? So one of them said, "Find a job that you will love and you'll never work a day in your life."
Brilliant.
I was 6 years old. I took it seriously. I thought that's what you're supposed to do. You have to find a job that you love. You cannot take a job that you don't love. That's what I did. So I graduate from MBA and go straight become an artist manager. Music artist manager.
Lovely.
It was an amazing, amazing experience. We are amongst the first in the country. It was a new profession.
Of course. Yeah.
Music itself, outside of Bollywood, was a new profession. So we launched and managed the careers of Lucky Ali, Shan, Sagarika, Rageshwari, Shweta Shetty, Sanjay Maru, Vikas Pal. Half of India's pop industry we were managing at that time. But you know what? We never made any money from artist management.
I think also it was like an inflection point, right? I mean, it was an explosion of talent and independent non-film musicians were suddenly becoming big.
Yes.
I think good place to be in, but like you said, not money.
Not money. So late 90s, right? It was really good fun.
Yeah.
But, following up for payments.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
It was 25 rupees a minute mobile calls.
Sure. Yeah.
So we were...
I remember those days.
Most of our money was going to, Hutchison Max or whoever that was at that time. So we pivoted, right? From being an event artist management company, we said, okay, we're going to be artist management and event management.
Excellent.
We have the artists. We are talking to sponsors already. We did our own tours. Right?
Amazing.
So that one deal changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
So we tied up with Coca-Cola. Mm-hmm. And they mandated us to do a concert in every state university in this brilliant country.
Wow.
So thanks to Coca-Cola, I have been to every state in this amazing country.
I think only Coke has that kind of muscle at that point in time and the audacity to kind of pull this off.
Thank you, Apurvi Mehta. I never told you that. Thank you.
I think this would be a good time to say that.
Yes, I'll ping her. She didn't mean it that way, but for me, it was amazing. So what we do is we would sponsor, on behalf of Coca-Cola, we would sponsor their annual festival.
Uh-huh.
Every university has an annual
absolutely.
festival. So we would take in the artists and do the production on behalf of them. Right? In exchange, we take bottling rights for 2 years because it's a business.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
But that's how I got to travel. I got to see. And this was, late 90s. There were no connecting flights. There were no roaming.
Sure.
So it was Tata Sumo.
Correct.
Trains, buses, whatever flights you could get, but mostly it was Tata Sumo. So, it was an amazing way to see the country and then do what you love to do. Very ikigai.
Beautiful.
So, I was in heaven, and that professor's words kept ringing in my head. Bang on. So I did that, and then at some point I got a chance to move to music television, Channel V. Now, Channel V in those days used to do the most expensive shows in the country.
Yes.
Highest budgets.
Yes.
Right? So the Channel V Viewers' Choice Award was the most expensive show in the day, $1 million budget. Right? In the 90s. Huge. Outside of Filmfare, this was the most expensive show.
Absolutely.
Filmfare, because of the level of stars that could show up to match it, you'd need to have crazy budgets, right? But, so that, and then we did these Coke V road shows, right? These were multi-artist concerts, 13 of them across the country. But we would go to unusual places, right? Not just Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, right? So we'd go to Hubli, we'll go to Meghalaya. We are like this only.
Absolutely.
Right? Channel V,
Yeah.
There was, we are like this only.
We are
That's
like this
the
only.
attitude. So, I got to do that, right? Great big productions, great artists, lots of entertainment. And, my trip was looking at the audience. Backstage, looking at the audience.
Just enjoying what they were going through.
Yeah.
Completely.
So that happened, that, fulfilled me a lot. But clearly there was a desire to learn more. And private FM radio arrived.
Yeah. This would have been in the year, 92, 93?
2000.
Oh, sorry. My bad. Yeah. Early 2000.
Early 2000. So licenses were handed out. So I worked with Radio Mirchi. I worked with the team that set up the first 4 Radio Mirchi private FM radio stations in India. Right?
Amazing.
We started with Indore, then Ahmedabad, then Pune. And I was working on Bombay when I got a call from Dubai saying, do you want to set up a radio station for the King of Dubai? We'll pay you in gold biscuits. Like, yeah. All right. So I decided at some point that I won't leave India till I've seen India. Right. And also it had been a frustrating few years. In the 3 years before I left, Gujarat government had fallen and reset up 3 or 4 or 5 times. I was tired of that. So I was like, okay, let's go. But interesting lesson in there that when I was setting up these radio stations, so interesting leadership lesson that I picked up. We had licenses in 45 cities.
Yeah.
Bombay being the most expensive. Some 54 crores or something was the annual license back in the day. I'm not entirely sure, but something on those lines. And Ahmedabad and Indore were 2, 3, 4, 5 crores.
Correct.
But yet we didn't go to Bombay first.
Yeah.
Right? We are paying a huge license.
Yeah.
We went to Indore. Right? Made our mistakes there.
Lovely.
Nobody had done radio before.
Yeah.
Right? Not me, not my boss, not the CEO, not the MD. This was private FM, right? We didn't want anybody from
Amazing.
No?
Yeah.
So, karo, make the mistakes. Okay, learn a lot. Let's go to Ahmedabad. Make more mistakes. Learn. Let's go to Pune. And then we went to Bombay when everything was tight and, we could hit the shots. Very
Beautiful.
So, great learning there. And then Dubai. Oh my God, what an amazing experience that was. So I was there for about 20 years. So I went, set up one radio station. Now, Arabs, they're very progressive people, they, especially Dubai Arabs, they had no oil.
Yeah.
Right? They had pearl diving and smuggling.
Back in the day.
Na? Amitabh wale dinon mein. Aaj bhi mera sona Dubai se aata hai. Right? Which is true. And then they rediscovered themselves and all that, and they became what they became, right? But one thing that they did do was they were traders. Right? They would go someplace, buy some stuff, go to another place, sell it. Right? Very much like certain Indian business communities. Right? Sindhi, Gujarati, Marwadi, Vaishya, Sardar,
Yep.
So very, very progressive, very fast. And so we landed in Dubai and they're like, okay, listen, set up a Hindi radio station. We have one Arabic one. So in 3 months, it was up and running. We were used to speed India, And now what? And they're like, okay, what do you suggest? So, I came from Radio Mirchi. It was a network. Sold them the idea of network. Yeah, let's do it. Suddenly, it's Arabian Radio Network. What else? So I came from Times of India Group, right? Newspaper, TV, radio, outdoor events, advertising.
The whole shebang.
Event management. The whole shebang, Arab Media Group. They're very progressive, right? Of course, easier said than done, but they did move fast, right? Within a few years, all this was set up. Then I got an opportunity to do something that I had not done before. It wasn't music, but it was an interesting opportunity. Zee TV didn't have a channel in the Middle East. We used to watch the India channel. So Zee hired me and said, listen, let's set up an India channel, Dubai Beam. So we time shifted the channel, brought it in. Suddenly we had all the inventory free. So we had a great time selling, right? From zero onwards. No?
Absolutely.
So your reports are amazing every year. Suvash Chandra loved it. So fine, we did that. But what we did is one key thing that I learned from radio business, from the event business and the radio business, experiential events.
Nice.
Right?
Nice.
And I started seeing one sort of connection between on ground, on air, online, right? There could be something. And I'd been getting excited with it. You know, MTV Unplugged had come in those days. It was a live show which was recorded to be a TV show, which was recorded to be an audio album.
Correct.
Right? All done in one shot.
Amazing.
Right? So those things really excited me. And, you know, you're a young production guy. You have some dreams and ambitions and you want to do something great, right?
Sure.
I used to do random things, like I would reach out to event producers in the US and Europe, just write them random emails. I saw your show, I really liked it, and can you give me some advice? Because I was in India, who am I going to learn from?
Sure, yeah.
Right? Guys around me we're all trying to figure out
Everybody's trying to figure out some stuff.
So Dubai, as soon as I joined Zee TV, we realized that, we agreed that there was a lot of money in live shows for TV.
Excellent.
Now, today we know that to be a fact, right? But this was 20 years ago, right? We didn't have enough evidence. But my boss at that time was a fairly high risk taker. So we did it. So Shah Rukh Khan at that time wanted to create his own live show, right? So, Bollywood stars go abroad for shows and all that. And, some of the biggest choreographers, show organizers, for example, Morani brothers, would organize it and he would be the main star and whatever. Yeah. But it was their show that he was going in.
Sure.
He wanted to produce his own show. Now, the Badshah of Bollywood makes something proper. Bunch of A-listers designed by Morani brothers, fireworks, screens, this, that, all sorts of shebang, right? It was called Temptation.
I remember that.
So, Zee TV tied up with Red Chillies and we were their partners. It was going to be a 32-city tour around the world with the 32nd show in Dubai, which we were going to shoot with a 16-camera setup.
Amazing.
Back in the day,
it's a big deal. Yeah,
it was like shooting a cricket match.
Yeah.
And man, Badshah of Bollywood is Badshah for a reason. Aise hi nahi hai Badshah.
100%. 100%.
What an entertainer, man. Oh my God, what a show it was. And, as big a star as he is, I learned something very interesting from him. Leadership, right? Is not about just being the leader. It's a lot about going down there and hanging with the troops. So he would just show up, right? Guys working there and suddenly he's sitting next, Shah Rukh Khan is sitting next to you, right? And he's like, bro, man, I really like the work you're doing.
Amazing.
Kya hoga usko? Uska career kahan jane wala hai?
100%.
What is it? So, I remember there was one contestant who had not gotten a picture with him. So I was rushing behind him to get the picture done. And he stopped. He was leaving the venue. There were 1,000 people running behind him. But he heard just one word. Sir, contest winner. The tuck ruk gaya. Okay, where's the picture? Come, darling. Come. Let's get a picture. And
I also need to share something really nice that I heard about Shah Rukh. Anybody who comes over to his house, the kind of hospitality that he kind of extends to them, all the way till they get into the car, I think there's a lot of grace. And apart from a super smart, extremely successful business person, actor, whatever, but even as a human being, I think that grace that he brings to conversations, the grace that he brings to every interaction, I think it's beautiful. It's really, really remarkable. And that's definitely something that all of us can learn from, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
100%.
Amazing.
100%.
So after, segueing from the media, your foray into luxury started with?
So it actually started, then something very interesting happened in my life. Context, the King of Dubai has all his investments in a company called Dubai Holding. Personal investment.
Correct.
So this is not government. Commercial enterprise. So it has multiple verticals. So Jumeirah Group of hotels is one vertical. Right, Dubai Properties is another one, Dubai International Capital. So our company Tecom Investments was one vertical. In the group, we had Tecom Business Parks, which were special economic zones, if you will, right, called free zones. We had 11 of them, right, 15 million square feet of office space. And we owned Arab Media Group. We started Dubai International Film Festival. And we had stakes in a bunch of companies here and there. So that was the group, right? And so they hired me. They had one free zone called Dubai Media City. They had a bunch of media free zones, Dubai Media City being the primary one. So they hired a media startup guy and they taught me real estate.
Wow.
They sent me on 5 mini MBA courses, $5,000 a pop, to teach me real estate.
What did they see in you that they thought that you could segue so well?
I told you, he loves me. I'm lucky. No,
Mehirr,
he sets me up.
That's another thing that I really found endearing, even in our brief conversation earlier. You always circle back to gratitude. You always circle back to a life well lived with minimal or no regrets. And that's really refreshing. Because there is this constant tussle about, conundrum. You got to be hungry. You got to be hustling. You got to come from an incomplete place so that you have fire in the belly and you move forward. Some of people, kind of tend to think that gratitude kind of quells that fire.
Fair.
I don't think so. I think it's like a beautiful way to look at. I was lucky. I was there in the right place. I learned a lot, and I'm thankful to whatever spiritual, religious, whatever beliefs that you might carry. But this ability to connect back and say thanks for whatever happened, I think that's remarkable. And I just wanted to compliment you on that. That's one of the first things that kind of struck out in our brief conversation earlier. But for them to notice that talent, it's like a beautiful thing. Which reminds me, I might always segue into movies because they're my favorite catchment area for really interesting tidbits. Apparently, when they were shooting The Godfather, everybody had auditioned for the role of Michael, which was eventually played by Al Pacino. Everybody who was an A-lister at that time had auditioned for it. But only the director, he felt Al Pacino was the only guy. Even Al Pacino didn't think he could do justice to that. So sometimes I think it takes somebody else to kind of see that spark in us.
100%. 100%. No, that's one of my biggest leadership learnings. No, if you see a spark, catch that person and hold on to them. No, because they're going to make you millions, man.
Yeah.
No, they're going to sort out your life. No, team building is an art.
It is.
It is. Getting them motivated, getting them to do to the best of their ability is an art, right? That's what leaders are supposed to do, according to me. No,
absolutely. Because, you could think that they were punting on you, but deep down they saw something in you that maybe it was not fully formed even within you. But the beautiful thing is that they took a punt and they said, no, I think you can do this. And I think I've also been blessed a lot in my career in a similar manner. Somebody saw that, no, I think you can. As it is, I was like tearing away at the leash and, just let me go out there and, create some chaos, right? And I found somebody who was like, okay, this is what you want to do? Okay, let's remove the barricade.
Wow.
Let's set you loose.
Wow.
And I think that was beautiful and I really cherish those experiences. Thank you so much. Sorry, that was a segue into somebody else spotting something that, was within you.
So I started working on real estate for media industry.
Amazing.
Right?
Lovely.
So we built indoor shooting floors. They're called sound stages. Right? 50,000 square feet of indoor shooting floor. A grade, Hollywood style. Dubai, na? Budget
It
ka
has
koi
to be.
problem
Yeah,
nahi.
yeah. And it has to be king size.
Has to be.
Pun intended.
Yeah. Underwater shooting tanks, satellite uplink centers, fiber optic networking.
Excellent.
We created the Dubai Film and TV Commission, Arab Journalism Awards, Dubai Press Club, all sorts of, things to kickstart the industry, kickstart the ecosystem. There was no ecosystem.
Sure.
But, one eye clearly on the money, right? 80% of our money came from office lease rental.
Got it.
Right.
Got it.
So the industry initiatives were to bring in the industry and then you rent them your office space.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
Wildly successful career for me. I learned a lot. Got exposed to such amazing things. I'm from Gujarat. I know my accountancy and Excel sheet, but the kind of excelling that I learned, advanced Excel and financial modeling and valuation change the game. In business, if you know how to do financial modeling, that's so great big learning, pick up skills all the time.
So this is an interesting thing for loosely speaking, right brain transition to left brain.
Yes, very much so.
I think that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was a big shift for me, but it stayed with the entertainment industry, right? I was building for
So the beautiful trajectory that I'm seeing is from a creative mindset, from putting together shows and then transitioning to a business expert, somebody who reads balance sheets or plans, does P&L and gets into the business side of things. I think most organizations hire us for both sides of skills, right? It's not just data crunching and number crunching without an eye on the finer aspects of what you bring to the table as a person, as a human being, ability to connect with people, and also fulfill your creative aspirations.
Yes.
Right? Which is why sometimes I heard the term creative accounting very, very funny. Who says they can't be creative?
Yeah, well, in India, we have a lot of very creative accountants.
Absolutely. So Mehir, starting with, I mean, it's almost asynchronous the way you put it. It's like beautiful, the transition from across all your various career choices. Talking about luxury, tell me about how that happened, how that came about.
So, at Tecom, our business parks were premium business parks, right? So we had 11 of these zones and each of them was a CBD by itself.
Wow.
We were going around creating our own CBDs. Right. So just outside our zone, the rent is $80 a square foot. Inside our zone is 220 dirhams a square foot.
Beautiful.
Na? So it was very clear. Sasta wala chahiye, aage wali dukaan mein
Gotcha.
dekho. Na? Mere paas nahi hai. We are premium. You want to be here, you got to pay for it, buddy. Right. But that was just one of the things, right? That built up from there. And interestingly, my job was to take products to market, set pricing, right? One of the mini MBAs was in pricing techniques.
Such a tricky and such a tough proposition to handle.
Amazing space. Very exciting. So, the pricing was based on a lot of benchmarking, this, that, and we realized that we really did have a much better product than others. So it required a better pricing.
Oh, 100%.
No?
Absolutely.
So that was my introduction to the world of premium, right? And then, of course, you're in Dubai, right? There is a luxury option for everything.
100%.
No? If you have the means, then you do get a much better experience. So that was really the entry to it. Right after I moved on from Tecom, I got the entrepreneurial bug. I'm half Sindhi, full Gujju. I started a couple of businesses. Dubai was, announcing, and Dubai just announced 300 new hotels. Right, we had just won Expo 2020. Hotels are coming up now. The Sindhi Gujju in me did some very quick calculations. Each hotel that comes up needs about $1.5 million dirhams worth of tech. I've set up 8 radio stations in my career, 3 TV channels. I know the tech, right? So that part. And at the same time, they buy another $1.5 million worth of hotel supplies. Bed sheets, pillow covers, flatware, linen, crockery, all that. And then they need music for their hotel, background music. So I set up a company that could do all 3. It was brilliant, wonderful. So that was one side of the business. And my wife and I took a franchise of a company out of Hollywood, We used to supply money can't buy experiences.
Love it. Love it.
So, we used to sell them to corporates and to SHNIs, UHNIs, right? Corporates who wanted to give high-value gifts to, employees, partners, associates, whatever. Or do high-value campaigns and give them away, branded campaigns. So, we do things like we could put you in the aircraft with, in those days, Barcelona Football Club, flying to an away game.
Huge. Huge.
Lionel Messi is 3 rows behind you.
Gotcha.
No? I've seen a picture of a guy who went there with his son. The son took the picture. Father looking back, tears. So he's looking at Messi, tears.
God. Seriously, experiences that money can't buy.
Experience is what matters. No? Experience is what matters. So, anybody can go to wimbledon.com and buy a VIP ticket.
Got it.
Right? But when we send you, you go and sit in the VIP space. But when you go hospitality, you're going where Sachin goes.
Amazing.
No?
Amazing.
Money can't buy experiences. And that was really, for me, a great big segue into deep into the world of luxury. No? Who bought, why they bought, how many they bought. No? And I realized that people of means are constantly seeking unique experiences.
Got it.
Just to go back, when we announced the Shah Rukh Khan show, the day I opened the ticket sales, I got a call from a lady. Okay, I won't go into details about who she is.
Sure.
But I got a call from a lady saying, how much are your front row tickets? At that time, it was 5,000 dirhams, about 1,10,000 rupees per ticket. And she said, how many do you have in there? So I said, I have about 30, 40. She said, can you please count? So I counted, there were 36. She said, can I have all of them? Yeah, okay, whatever, right? Okay. Half an hour later, some guy shows up in my office with the money. The same lady, she found out where he was going to stay in the hotel. She booked the entire floor.
Oh my God.
Okay. So some would call her psycho, right? Shah Rukh appreciated it. He realized that she's a big fan. He gave her 5 minutes. No, she booked the entire floor just so that she could run into him in a private setting.
Yeah.
Now, what length she went to. And he appreciated that. No, he doesn't encourage it. But he realized that this woman's done so much. Just to spend 5 minutes with me, he gave her 5 minutes.
Amazing. Amazing.
So all that, sort of kept building in me the thought process around, focusing on luxury a little bit. I got more excited, more interested in the world of luxury. And, at some point we decided to move back to India. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I landed in Bangalore, a friend of mine called me and said, hey, I heard you're in Bangalore. I said, yeah. So I heard you're looking for a job. And I said, yeah. And he goes, why don't you just come and join our group? And I was like, okay, great. What will I do then? What a great guy. He says, we'll figure it out.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
A guy's name is Ravi Machani, runs a company called Machani Group. Absolute genius man. So, he wanted me to sell their luxury real estate development called Svasa Homes in Baswangudi. One of the most beautiful real estate developments, residential developments I have personally experienced.
Amazing.
And I've seen a lot.
Sure.
Dubai has enough.
Sure.
Right? So, that was a very interesting journey.
Awesome.
When I started over there, I realized that it was being sold as real estate. And discount and sell, right? And all sorts of techniques which are standard to real estate.
Sure.
So I was given charge on the 15th of May and 15th of March and 23rd of March, lockdown happened.
Oh, geez.
In the next 3 months, there was a fair bit of anxiety and this and that. And then as soon as sales opened, oh my God, it was like floodgates opening. No?
Revenge shopping, revenge luxury shopping.
Revenge luxury shopping, right? Something changed in the minds of the wealthy in India. So luxury real estate, of course, absolutely exploded. But we started doing something quite unusual. So at Svasa, I built a team full of non-real estate people.
Oh, amazing.
I didn't want the baggage that they brought along. I didn't think luxury is being sold the way it should be sold.
Yeah.
Right? So, for lack of a better example, if I hire a Maruti salesman and take him to a Mercedes showroom, guess what's going to happen?
Yeah, he's going to come with that baggage of experiences and maybe kind of approach it in a similar kind of an automobile kind of a manner.
Absolutely.
Let's move metal, same thing, kind of
100%.
thing. Yeah.
No? So many times so another leadership lesson that I got here, when you're on a mission to do something, right? Make sure that everybody in your team is on with the mission. They understand what the mission is. They understand where you're headed, why you're going there, how you're going to go there, and everything. Everybody in the team needs to be on the same page. Can I just digress and give you an example?
Of course, please.
Okay. So a friend of mine is a very big singer. So, I started as an artist manager. So I had relations with a lot of singers. And so one day he was coming to Dubai for a concert. So he called me, hey, I'm in town. I said, okay, I'll see you in the evening. He's like, no, can you come in the day? I want to talk to you. I said, okay. So I go to his hotel room. We sit down, chat. And then I go, okay, what's up? And he goes, bro, I'm stuck at 25 lakhs for the last 2 years. Bhav nahi bad raha hai. Rate nahi bad raha hai. No? I went from 4 lakhs to 10 lakhs to 15 lakhs to 20 lakhs to 25 lakhs in cut.
And now
I'm stuck there,
yeah.
right? And it's been 2 years. We are unable to break the... So I said, okay, interesting problem. Let's start splitting hair, right? So we started looking at everything. ना वो कार को खोल देता है ना मैकेनिक.
Absolutely.
हमने खोल दिया पूरा, right? His entire being, his entire पूरा खोल डाला. And then we realized, oh, it's your manager. No.
That was a blocker.
The guy who sells you.
Yeah.
Why? It's not his fault. Why? Because he's been your manager since 4 lakhs.
Lovely.
ना अभी 25 बना रहा है, बहुत हो गया, और क्या चाहिए? ना sometimes he would take a economy flight booking also, which is fine, but it's a thing, it's a positioning thing. If you're okay with economy flights, then you're okay with getting your price discounted as well.
Sure.
So we agreed that was the point, and we agreed what he needs to do. He sucked it in and he did what needed to be done, right? So he moved on. He set him up very nicely, right? Invested in his business, right? Got him a few more artists, and then go.
But then he took that call.
Did.
He took that call.
He took the call.
And no, this is really beautiful because we all talk about. I mean, Bangalore is almost like a zeitgeist for founders right now, startup, the whole thing, right?
Yes.
And there are CEOs who thrive in the founding stages. But the same CEOs, when it comes to scale, they're floundering, because they kind of tend to get the same baggage and kind of tend to approach this a different environment with the same kind of a mindset. And I think that's, in this case, luckily for you, you could kind of figure out it was an external entity who had seen you from this one to here and saying, boss, graph has moved. I mean, the index has changed.
Yes.
And this is, I think you're doing good for you as against getting somebody with a fresh viewpoint saying that you're capable of much more
100%.
and I will get you there.
100%.
Because that will be ground zero for the new person, right?
Yes.
Amazing. Interesting.
Yeah. So
Lovely
previous
story.
manager knew him as a struggler who has made it.
Lovely.
The new manager just knew the celebrity.
I think the identity that the newer entrant will register will be very different from somebody who's seen him or her through their years. Beautiful. So this is like one of the biggest takeaways that somebody who's watching this could learn is embodying experiences onto inanimate objects, right? It could be hospitality, it could be real estate, like the building that we are in, and to break that mindset that it need not and doesn't have to be sold like traditional real estate. It's a lifestyle. What are the fundamental holy points in that grail that somebody can use to better sell their enterprise stroke business with personification, with the experience of it? Are there any pillars that you would rest it on saying that strategically this is how we move away from commoditization onto ensuring that it is sold as a brand?
Right.
Strategically, are there any pillars that you kind of come up in your experiences?
Okay, so brand is a C, right? It's a huge space, right? Brand building, brand management, right? So let's look at an example, right? So my wife has a Da Milano bag. It costs 25,000. It's a fancy bag, great leather, great design, good stitching, right? Now let's say my wife is at a party and she's got a Damilano. All the women there have a Damilano, and one LV walks in. How many minutes before all the ladies at that party know there's an LV in the party?
Of course.
Okay. Let's take that same example where all the women in the party have an LV and one Hermes walks in.
Absolutely.
No?
Absolutely.
Now, Damilano is 25,000. LV starts at 1.5 lakhs. Hermes, if you're lucky, it starts at 20.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
The only difference is the brand. They have the same leather, same stitching, similar design, same machines.
200%.
No?
Yes.
For all you know, there some of them are sharing factories also.
Oh, absolutely.
No?
Yeah.
They're buying material from... so, brand is a big difference, right? So, now, brand building is a lot of respect process.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
How much do you respect your brand?
Love it.
आप खुद को कितना बड़ा पहले खुद को कितना बड़ा समझते हो?
Correct.
ना? So, pause. I'll give you an example. So, I was at Tecom Dubai Media City, and we noticed that people were not calling it Dubai Media City; they were calling it Media City. So clearly, we were losing out on the brand value, right? And we struggled a bit, but we are making a ton of money. So we used to hire some of the best consultants. So we hired Deloitte, paid them $300,000, about $1 million dirhams, to tell us why it's called Media City and not Dubai Media City.
Yeah.
So they did a 4-month study. Now, normally you hire Deloitte, KPMG, these guys, they show up with a big
Of course.
document
Of
like
course.
that. 14 guys in the room,
Absolutely.
fancy suits, all
Yeah.
that. So they said, hi, we're ready. Okay, so they came in for the meeting. There were the 14 guys with the fancy suits and one sheet of paper.
Intriguing.
Right? It's there on the table and there's a copy in front of all of us covered. And they're like, we're ready with our answer. You asked us to find out why people are not calling it Dubai Media City. Well, it's because your employees are not calling it Dubai Media City.
Ooh. And the penny drops.
Khatam kahani. Simple as that.
Beautiful.
Is everybody in your team on the same mission? Do they know what the mission is? Does everybody know? Right? Okay, pause. Another story. Is one of the most powerful stories I've heard about leadership. So there was a guy, a mountain climber. He summits Mount Everest. I don't remember his name. I heard the story a long time ago. But so he summits Mount Everest. अब आप climber हो, आपने Mount Everest चढ़ लिया है. अब क्या करोगे? ना?
Love it.
What's the next challenge? There's nothing left, right? You're getting bored in life, right? So our man is looking around for his next challenge. Na, क्या करूं? घूम रहा है. So his best friend happened to be a blind man. He goes, you want a challenge? Yeah. Take me to Mount Everest. It's like, पागल हो गया है क्या? ये बच्चे का खेल है क्या? What's wrong with you?
You're talking about Mount Everest.
Mount Everest, na? Thousands of guys have died and they were expert climbers. You're a blind man who can't even climb. He's like, you wanted a challenge. Na? Here's a challenge. So he thought about it and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So he starts putting together a team. They start practicing, learning, right? 2 years prep. 2 years.
Sure.
Right? Because they have to teach the blind man how to climb. And then they have to teach the team how to climb with that blind man.
Correct.
10 people team, including him, 11. Right? 2-year training. Then they reach base camp. The day they reach the base camp, the leader of this group, the guy who came up with it, the guy who had summited, he developed pneumonia.
Jeez.
So that's the end of that story.
Sure.
Right? He cannot continue. It's certain death.
Absolutely.
What are you going to do? He's the leader. This is a blind man mission. Right? So they're sitting there discussing. Someone needs to take over leadership duties. Right? But everybody's bandwidth was packed. Right? Because it was a complicated mission.
Sure.
Nobody had bandwidth to take on the leadership duties except one guy. He had bandwidth. So they agreed. They made him the leader. And then they rejigged the plan. And then these guys continued forward. Aman went back home. And guess what? All 10 summited.
Wow.
Including the blind man.
Amazing.
Right? Now, here's the catch to the story. The guy who became the new leader, you know what his real job was in the team? He was the toilet cleaner.
Wow.
So mountain climbers are very disciplined people. They have morals and ethics. So they believe that they should leave a site the way they found it.
Absolutely.
Right? So
Absolutely.
good mountain climbing teams carry a person for cleanup. This guy's job was cleanup. Right? And he was handed the leadership duties and they submitted. Now, what do I learn out of this? Right? Leadership is not about telling everybody what to do. It's not about being bossy. It's not about a lot of things, right? I think leadership is about bringing together a great team who know what they're doing, right? And then get out of their way. Let them do what they do. Because you put together a team of professionals for a reason, right? When MS Dhoni built the Indian cricket team after the disastrous World Cup exit, when he rebuilt it, right, he picked pieces one by one. There were 2 opening batsmen. Their job is opening batsmen. They're the best opening batsmen you can find, right? Once you put together that team of 11, let them do what they do.
So getting the right people on the bus is half the job done.
Half the job done.
Absolutely. And, likewise, Steve also says, if I've hired a bunch of really respectable professionals, then why should I add value? So in the coaching practice, there is a truism that we have: leaders are guilty of adding too much of value. So in the start, stop, continue model, I sit down with my coaches and say, you think you're adding value, you desperately want to add value, but sometimes the best way you can add value is by being absent in that.
Fair enough. I couldn't agree more.
Because I do something called shadowing, where it's like a day in the life of the CEO. Mm-hmm. I shadow him on his board meetings and his, all his day-to-day. How does he interact? What's his style? What's the vibe? Where are the mistakes and stuff like that? And there was once a 2-hour-long meeting, and he spoke the most. I said it has to be exactly the other way around. You think you're setting the vision, you're giving them direction, but what you're taking away is a lot of their initial enthusiasm, and which is why they signed up in the first place. So my guru, Marshall Goldsmith, has this beautiful thing. Whenever somebody comes and says, can we do this? And when the first words that come out of your mouth are, yes, but, so their enthusiasm cuts down by half. So you might be able to give them a better idea, but that person will walk away with half the enthusiasm. So, it's not like a great win-win kind of a situation.
Right, yeah.
So adding too much value, definitely that's a challenge.
Yeah. Also, I learned that instead of doing but, if you just replace it with and.
And. Absolutely. One of my foundational lessons from theater and improv. Beautiful. There are a lot of goof-ups that happen when you're on stage. And there was this one actor, and so another person, so she was typing something out on a typewriter and the piece of paper fell down. Another person in character picked it up and gave it to her, and she rebuffed it.
Absolutely. She's
like, why are you doing it? Right? So as against, when you're there, you add on to the other person. Oh, thank you so much for giving it to me.
Absolutely.
So you add and you don't take away.
Absolutely.
I think yes and yes but was one of a really good exercise that we learned in improv. Amazing. Sorry to cut you. You were talking about Everest, and you were talking about experiences, right?
Yes.
Bespoke experiences.
Yes.
This art of imbuing magic in otherwise what is a very moribund product or a service, right? Has always fascinated me. Same product. Da-da-da. This one is this much, this one is this much, right?
Yes.
It's beautiful to see how, like for instance, Svasa, right?
Yes.
The distinction that you made is it was being sold as a real estate kind of a play. What were the fundamental principles you kind of got together or you started practicing?
Yes.
Anything comes to your mind?
Yes.
You did speak something about choreography, but we'll come there.
Yes. So I'll take you through that. So I'll give you an example before we get there. So a Mercedes E-Class is about 80 lakhs. Mm-hmm. Mercedes S-Classes starting at about 1.5 crores. Now, if you look at it carefully, the two cars are not very different.
Sure.
They have a similar chassis, similar engine, similar tech. Even the speakers are the same. Burmeister, the best audio speakers in the world, right? Same leather seats. So why double the price? Well, you sit in the back seat of an S-Class, you'll know. No, it's the experience, which is blows you away. You've never sat in a car like that before.
So it's a feeling.
It's a feeling. It's
You're selling a feeling
100%.
at the end of the day, right?
100%. Right? So Svasa Homes happens to be a very unique development because it is an Indian luxury development.
Love it.
Right?
Yes.
It wasn't inspired by what the British told us should be luxury, or
Or
the Italians,
yeah.
or the Americans,
Yeah.
exposed big concrete,
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
French told us La Maison, all that.
Yeah.
We find all these in India. When was the last time you saw an Indian luxury?
Beautiful.
Huh? But not a palace, not a fort, a home, right? It's based on some unique principles. So when I learned all this, it's like, why aren't we selling like this? It's like, nobody's going to buy Indian.
Why aren't you selling the story? Right?
It's always the
It's
story.
always the story, yeah.
And I come from the world of media and entertainment.
Absolutely.
Oh my Lord, what stories we made. Right? So my sales team was not allowed to do a site tour for clients for 3 months till they were able to tell the story well enough. It's luxury. No? Each of those clients that walks in is a huge opportunity. And if you don't convert, a huge loss.
Sure.
No? So you don't take no chances. So I believe that the experience can be choreographed, right? Should be choreographed, must be choreographed, right? This is a very important person, a very high value person. The only thing they don't have in life is time, and he's giving you some. That's your privilege.
Absolutely.
First, recognize the privilege.
Sure.
If you recognize the privilege, everything else will make sense.
Got it.
Right? So you make it worth their while, right? You build the experience. Every touch point. So I cared about everything. Which gate are they coming in from? Where are they going to turn? Where do they stop exactly? What happens next? Who opens the door? Which way does he get out? Who goes to everything? Beautiful. I want to know everything. Right? And that's how we went about building the experience. Of course, we didn't have to do too much because Svasa itself is really, really lovely. And I just wanted to ensure that by the time they enter, they have a certain openness and a certain feeling about it. Right? The other side of luxury, I believe, is exclusivity. Right? The more scarce it is.
200%. The number one influence in Cialdini's 6 rules of influence. Scarcity is like amazing. Yes.
So we used to say no more than we used to say yes. For a real estate company to say no to a customer sitting across the table, we don't take.
I think there's tremendous power in saying no.
100%.
And very few brands or services really muster up the courage to walk down that path. See, let me also state that it's a hard path. It's not an easy path. It's not an easy thing to say no. I just remember reading, this is an oft-quoted story about Sylvester Stallone when he was pitching his story, Rocky, and so many production houses kind of rejected it. And there was one production house which gave him some money, but it's like, we don't want to have anything to do with you.
Yep.
And he said the kind of tone that was implied was, get off my lawn, boy. And they were willing to pay him like $500,000 and whatever. It took him a lot of guts and courage to say no.
Yeah.
And somebody asked him, like, what was the science behind it? I know the heart was, you wanted to star in it. It's your story. But was there a little bit of thinking? Was there a little bit of... He said, look, at that time, I had already figured out how I could minimize my life. I was already a minimalist. So I knew that if nothing happened, it's not like, मेरा lifestyle इधर से इधर तो नहीं जाएगा.
Right.
तो इधर ही है. I will kind of manage that. And the second thing is, I also realized that I'm saying no because there is some conviction. And eventually that's the story that, it's a beautiful story. My kids and, I didn't run up the stairs, but my kids ran up the Philadelphia Library. It's a beautiful thing. Obviously, Rocky means a lot more to me than it does to them. So I was taking them through the story. But it's a beautiful story. And I think saying no is not a bad thing at all.
It's not a bad thing at all. Especially in luxury.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody don't get access. Just because you have the money, you cannot buy it. Right? There is some amount of, moats around it, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right? Exclusivity helps. Right? Then, of course, luxury is luxury because the product is significantly superior.
Superior. 100%.
No?
Yeah.
Usme koi shak nahi hona
100%.
chahiye. You cannot cheat your way into luxury.
No. That's almost like hygiene, right? That's your seat at the table kind of a thing. That's your claim to the process.
Because the customer is a very evolved customer.
Right.
No, they've traveled a lot. They've experienced a lot.
Right.
You cannot cheat this customer.
Right.
They probably know more about this than you do.
200%.
Probably.
200%.
Not in my world. Salesperson always knows inside out. Of course, we make them feel like.
Yeah. Mehir, especially when it comes to delivery of a premium and a luxury product. Actually, this can be endemic to pretty much any product stroke service that you're selling to the world. You also said belief is like the cornerstone of setting that premise up. And I tell my coaches pretty much the same thing. If you don't believe your story, then why should the world believe it? If you don't feel connected, if you don't feel rooted in that sense of who you are and what your journey is, why should the world lean in and meet you halfway? The world doesn't owe you any favors exactly, right?
100%.
And you had something very interesting to add to that. Over to you.
Okay, so I have two stories. One is that when you're walking home and outside your door, your home door, if you take off your chappal, everybody who walks in behind you will take off their chappal. Barabar hai? It's how you treat your home that the world will treat it that way.
Beautiful.
Barabar hai?
Yes.
If you are calling it a jhopadpatti, the world will call it a jhopad. But if you are calling it a mahal, कि मेरा महल है, ठीक से आना, अदब से आना, respect से आना, प्यार से आना, ठीक है, खाना खा के जाना, whatever, right? If you are treating it that way, the world will treat it that way. ठीक है? So that's point number one. Let's put it on the whiteboard. Now, I want to tell you a lovely story that I realized at some point, and I love sharing this. So it's about Hardik Pandya. Now, Hardik Pandya, we know, is in Gujarat, we call him what is called a single haddi. You know, he's skinny. He's skinny, right? So Gujarati mein say single haddi hai. Barabar hai. But if he takes off his shirt, then you see a tremendous amount of power in his upper body.
Yeah.
Right? He's a very, very, very strong man. Now, he has this unique shot, which he hits over long off. Okay. Now, long off pe, very few batsmen hit a six because you don't get time to, swing your bat. You can't generate power. Over long on is much easier because you get to swing, right? So, very few batsmen hit six over long off. Hardik Pandya is one of those unique batsmen. Okay? Every bowler in the world knows it. If I bowl the ball over there, he's going to hit me for a 6 here. Confirm. वो तो बोलता है bowler को. दम है तो इधर डाल के दिखा. I'll show you what I can do, right? Now, every captain in the world also knows this about Hardik Pandya.
Sure.
So, he places a fielder just for Hardik.
Gotcha.
When Hardik runs over, that fielder is gone. He comes back only for Hardik, right? And yet, so, the bowler knows it, the captain knows it, the fielder knows it, Hardik knows it. If the ball comes there, he's hitting it for a 6. And he does. He doesn't care there's a fielder there. Kyun? Confidence. Nah. So you look at Hardik Pandya, he has a tattoo over here. If you look at it carefully, it says believe.
Oh, wow. Wow.
How much do you really believe? In yourself, in your product, in your service, in your how much do you really believe? That's one of the best bowlers in the world. That's one of the best captains in the world. That's one of the best fielders in the world. I'm still going to hit it because I can cross that line. I know it. I can cross that line. Nah?
Beautiful.
Belief.
Beautiful. So, let's put on our science hat for now. Because the idea is, joke often is the wealthy talking about, I don't need that much money. Boss, you're wealthy already. And there are people amongst us who, through a combination of science, art, learning, curiosity, have pushed the boundaries to figure out what their true value, self-worth is, and they pitch it to the world, right? I am in an enviable practice of sorts where I need to imbue or help another individual, in my case a CXO or a senior leader, figure this out for themselves and put these small blocks to develop that sense of self-worth. And these are people, mind you, some of the smartest people in the world that I work with who've been there, done that, they've achieved it.
Yeah.
But ironically, even then, they're not able to tell the story of who they are in a way that it drives back home to themselves.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Any fundamental aspects that they can start doing to build that sense of belief?
Yes, very much so. I truly believe that CXOs need to be good storytellers.
Amazing.
Okay, let's rewind a little bit, right? You're a CXO. Let's say you're a founder, a co-founder of a company.
Sure.
You've got a dream. Your co-founders have that dream.
Right.
And you are completely, obsessed about that dream. You've been living that dream for the last 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 years, whatever time, right? And now you've started this company and you've built a team that's going to help you get to wherever it is that you want to go to, right? Now you got to pass on that dream to those people, right? Dreams cannot be passed on by PowerPoint.
I love it. It's almost like you looked at my observations as well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So if you are able to tell a story in a way that gets that person excited and gets him onto the challenge, ना कि देख हम लोग मिशन पे जा रहे हैं ना, हम जंग लड़ने जा रहे हैं, right? मैं जनरल हूँ, मैं आगे खड़ा रहूँगा.
Amazing.
You have to get them involved. So if you are...
Sorry, this was too good a point. So would it start with the stories we tell ourselves about who we are?
Also.
Right?
Also.
So
100%.
if you have to bolster a belief, more often than not, when the stories that we tell ourselves are, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, I don't belong at the table, I will not get a seat at the table, and so on, guess what? The world will lean in halfway and make it come true.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So one of the blocks is, towards belief in yourself or your product or service is develop the art of storytelling. And I share this with my coaches. The most important person that your stories have to be are for yourself.
For yourself. Do you believe the story or not? Do you get it? 100%. 100%. Wow, I love Coach Jay. That's such a wonderful coach thing to say. Yes, 100%.
Because, even my own journey, right? So there's this interesting story about somebody walking across to Gandhi and saying, hey, listen, my son needs too many jalebis. I can't get him to stop. And Gandhi says, not today, come after 2 weeks. And they come after 2 weeks and Gandhi says, this is what you do, whatever. And somebody says, why did you wait for 2 weeks? He's like, because main khud kha raha tha. I had to overcome that for myself. Yes. But, there are certain limitations within that because your worldview is your worldview.
Yes.
And you kind of figured out what your mechanism is for behavioral change. Mm-hmm. And if you, and as we are so often cued into do, this worked for me, it'll work for you. Lele. So I keep joking, it's like walking to an optometrist and saying, hey, listen, I need glasses. And the optometrist takes out his glasses. Hey, these work fine. Why don't you try these glasses on?
Wow, that's a good example.
But yeah, I think storytelling and telling better stories to yourself is a great first step.
100%.
Any other tips? Any other?
So, couple of things. If you're not a good storyteller, make sure that one of the co-founders is.
Amazing.
Right? One person on the team.
Beautiful.
Right? It's not necessary, sometimes founders are just geniuses.
Yeah.
Who are genius at making product.
Yeah.
They're not good at sales, marketing, branding, whatever, right? And you don't need to be. You can hire someone to do it for you, right? Bring someone on board, right? But get it done. That's one side. But there is another very important thing, which you just mentioned. I want to go on that. So I never or highly encourage people not to say negative things to themselves.
Beautiful.
I believe that our brain listens to us first. Nah. If I say I'm not good enough, my brain is listening. Nah. I heard this beautiful story. May I?
Absolutely.
So, there's a bunch of soldiers there in training, right? So when soldiers are in training, it's nightmare. Right? I didn't go through that training. I just went to military school and NCC, but my brother did. It's a nightmare, right? Good and proper nightmare. They'll wake you up at 2 in the morning suddenly. Oh, do, bangy, bangy, bangy. It's raining outside, right? It's pouring, okay? Come on, parade dress. Parade dress is the full dress, right? Just the dress and the shoes is about 8 to 10 kilos. And then they'll put on a 40 kilo water canister.
Just to make things fun.
Yes, just to make it fun.
Yeah.
And it's pouring outside. You're wearing big parade boots. Okay, boys, we're going for a 25-kilometer run. Let's go.
Nice.
Now, these are 18, 19-year-old boys, 20-year-old boys, no? Who've just graduated to become an army officer, बड़े dreams देख के निकले, मैं भी देश की सेवा करूंगा, और यहाँ गाली दे रहे हैं वो लोग. अरे ऐसे थोड़ी बनते हैं क्या ऑफिसर, ऐसे थोड़ी बनता है, मेरी जान निकल जाएगी. What is wrong with this guy? What is this? 5 kilometers later, they are like done, right? They somehow get it through. Okay, 10 kilometers. Now they're abusing, they're giving up, they're refinding their second breath, the third breath. They make it to 15 kilometers. Somehow they make it to 20. Now they're told 5 left. अरे कैसे तो भी खींच के जा रहे हैं, yes? Because this is the army training. You drop. If you don't continue, you're out.
Yeah. There's
So
no way
they
you advance.
somehow get to 25 kilometers. And they're like, yeah, we made it. Yeah. And they goes, oh, well, no, hang on. And they switch on these big lights and turn them around, and there's a mountain there. Like, now you have to climb the mountain. And that's when everybody falls
Yeah.
apart. Okay, nahi hone, bus ho gaya.
That's-
This is not
this
going to
is it.
happen.
Yeah,
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? There's no more gas left. Now, that set of soldiers are essentially split into 2 sets of people. One set that is saying, bro, this is not going to happen. Right? तू कुछ भी ले आ, तू Red Bull ले आ, कुछ भी कर ले, I'm not getting up to that mountain. It's not going to happen, right? I spent everything in the last 25 kilometers, right? And then there is another very small set of people who are saying, bas kya? Itna hi? You thought this will break me?
Oh my
mad?
God.
Do you know what I'm made of?
Oh, geez.
You can't break me with this shit.
Wow.
I'm far too strong for this.
Amazing.
Guess who's going to have an easier time getting up there?
No two ways. No prize for guessing, right?
The only difference between these 2 people was what he said to himself. That's it.
Powerful. Extremely powerful.
So be very careful of what words come out of your mouth.
So get better at storytelling. If you can't, get somebody else who will help you circumvent that. You don't have to be good at everything, right? Just do what you're really good at and figure out somebody else who can do the rest. Tell yourself great stories to begin with. And number 2 is, that sense of don't talk negatively to yourself. One of my favorite coaching questions is, I work with a lot of senior leaders around the world, 70% of them men, and men have a hard time in self-acceptance, love, worth, in these areas, which is why when you spoke about gratitude, when you spoke about a cherished life, that was beautiful. It really struck a chord in me because that's one of the fundamental values that I bring into my day every day. To enable them to, so they come and tell me, oh, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at this, I'm like, hey, hang. We're not getting into the not good bit. Tell me what's good.
Yes.
Let's start with that first,
yes.
right? And then this will continue for some time. After some time, no, there was an annual operating plan. I got up, I flubbed it, I made so many mistakes. Everybody's looking at me. I was not in the zone, blah, 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 whatever. So I tell them, look, imagine if your friend came to you with the same problem, how would you talk to him? I would talk to them very nicely. I would tell them, it's all right, mate. It's another day.
Yes.
You're good, you're great. Then I say, why do you talk to yourself so toxically?
Exactly.
Exactly. Don't you deserve the same love and acceptance? Like, okay.
Well, I think that's human nature.
It is.
I'm sitting here giving you all this gyan about what I think. But when I have a tough time, even I start to question myself.
Everybody, that's a part of being human.
Right. And my wife would be like, hey, that's a good project to go. And I'd be like, why would they want me?
Sure.
Right. And she's like, what are you talking about? So, I also need some amount of, everybody gets insecure.
Mehirr, everybody. We all have our place in the darkness. Somebody who's sunny all the time is not normal, right? We
Absolutely.
need those moments of darkness to rebuild ourselves,
Yes.
right? And once in a while, and this is something that I told to a coach of mine, how I wish you could see yourself the way I see you. You know, you're so much better than the way you're thinking about yourself or you're seeing yourself. And stepping out of that, and self-doubt is a very natural process of the human condition. And doing the work at that time, spending some time wrestling with the thought of imposterism, it's not a bad thing at all.
Absolutely natural.
Fear, evolutionary fear, has been implanted with us because it served a purpose at that time, right? Saying that if you don't have fear, then you'll walk towards a reptile or something that's going to take you. So
Absolutely.
fear is important.
Fear is good.
My only challenge is when it becomes crippling, when it
Yes.
holds you back
Yes.
from becoming a better version of yourself.
Yes.
That's when it becomes a little
100%.
very, very limiting. You know,
Yes.
you feel like you're dragging 100 kilos behind you all
Yes.
the time. You're double guessing yourself. You're second guessing. It becomes hard.
Yes.
And and it's nice that you spoke about it, saying that while we are talking here, we are also creatures of the same habit. We are all on the path of getting better. We know not much better than other people.
Yes.
But we're asking questions. We're
Yes.
being curious about things. We are appreciating the good stuff. And we are hopefully taking along people and helping them on their journey to kind of figure out what are those little kinks that they can work on.
Mm-hmm.
And coming back to belief, I think it's pretty much a cornerstone of building a great experience. And if you don't see it that way, then why should the consumer kind of look at it as the next big thing?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Off topic, but I think still relevant. I work with a lot of Indian CXOs who are getting geared for the global stage.
Yes.
So they're all in the process of, at last count, I think there are about 20 Indian CEOs who are running multinational corporations outside the country and, globally and whatever. And I think that number is just going to increase for a couple of things. Number one, as Indian leaders, we handle change much better because that's almost a part of our lifestyle
Every
where
day.
we've been every day, right?
day.
We handle not having connected all the dots.
Yes.
We are willing to walk in first and then figure our way out as
Yes.
we go by. But there are also some challenges along the way, and which is something that we can learn from leaders from the West. But
Yes.
I will not prime you. For Indian CXOs to be world beaters, which I think is the journey that we are on, what skills do you think they need to hunker down upon?
So that's a very big question. I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that, but I'll give you my two bits.
Sure.
Right? What I've learned in terms of leadership, I've learned that you have to learn to share. So if I'm taking someone along on a mission with me, right, and I'm going to make an X amount of money, I need to be sharing that money with, because they're in it for the money.
Sure.
They're part of the journey
Yeah.
to be able to make the money.
Absolutely.
Now, let's
Yeah.
be clear. You're the founder. You've got your own dreams. He's here for the money. Right?
I think that's a hard realization, right? And you've got to be pragmatic about it. While your head is in the clouds and you're going rah-rah about your vision, about you're going to change the world one consumer at a time and all that,
Yes.
you still need to figure out who puts bread on the table, who runs the trains on time, their material aspirations need to be fulfilled. And that's hard. I mean, that you can't rely only on all the other stuff.
Absolutely.
Great.
Now, here's the thing, right? It's not so when you talk about sharing, right? It's more like you need to have a growth mindset,
Excellent.
an abundance mindset.
Very true.
So one way of looking at it, which I've seen very often in India, unfortunately, is he's getting paid 2 lakhs. No, that's enough. But bro, he's doing 300 crores worth of business for you. But he's okay at 2 lakhs. Let it be. But he deserves 5. But it मांग नहीं रहा है ना, चलने दे.
Jeez. How true.
Okay.
How true.
Or, he's done something great and he deserves X amount of money. But, others are paying only this much. Let's just pay him that much.
So, in a way, bringing high achievers to lowest common denominators. So, which means meritocracy will slowly not see the light of day, number one. Number two, but typically tell me something. We speak a lot about the Indian spirit as giving.
Yes.
Does this run contrary?
Yes.
It does, right?
Yes.
It does.
We like giving when it's charity. When someone's going to say, oh, great, oh, great, oh, mere ko diya. Na? But when it comes to mehnat wala,
Why
we
is that?
hate
Why do you
giving.
think that
I don't know why we do this in India. We don't value people's mehnat. Maybe because there's 1.4 billion of us. Na? आप
Sure,
नहीं करोगे तो
that's the
4 और खड़े हैं
context, yeah,
पीछे.
yeah,
Get out.
yeah.
Someone else will do it at half the price.
Okay.
Maybe. No,
No,
it's one of the
there's
things.
definitely like an economic angle to that, right? When you talk about huge populations, availability of skilled labor, stroke manpower, looking at countries like China or India, there is an idea that we bring to the table that replaceable, right? So in that context, where do you spend time to nurture and grow talent?
Imagine if Steve Jobs had said that to John Ive.
Oh, man.
I don't like your design, I don't
Yeah.
like your face, get out. I can get another John Ive. Really?
Really? You can't.
No?
Absolutely.
So I'll give you another small example. So many a moon ago, I was working for a radio station. And so in creative businesses, there's always a fight between content and sales.
200%.
Right?
Yeah.
Content guys are like, तुमको बेचने नहीं आता है. Sales guys are like, क्या बकवास program बना रहा है, मेरा sponsors don't like it. Nobody's listening to your show. There's
Very
constantly
familiar with this story.
Yes, okay. So now the sales guys has a meeting with some brand, and he wants 3 concepts.
Yes.
And the programming head has given him barely 1.
Sure.
Fine. This fight goes on forever,
100%.
right? So it was going on in our station, and it had been a while, and our numbers weren't moving too much. And MD is putting pressure that what's up, guys? So we decided to make a change. Now, till then, when a deal was closed, the sales team got commissions.
Sure. Now we are talking.
Right? So we said, okay, who all needs to touch this project for that sales guy to close it? Right? The production guy, he's going to make the ads and the packaging, the programming head, and the radio jock is involved on the show.
Sure.
Everybody gets a kaching now. When the deal closes, everybody gets a piece of the commission. Now everybody's interested in getting a new client on board. Now suddenly when the sales guy is going for a meeting, programming head is going along with 3 concepts.
What else do you want?
What do you want? Growth mindset. Now abundance, you'll make much more money. Share some.
I think that's it's paradoxical, right? When we learn how to share, we don't realize how much we get back.
Yes.
We are just looking at the pennies on the dollar kind of a mindset.
Speaking of belief, 20 years ago, we were, young and in the music business and making music and selling music and all that. I came across these 2 young DJ music producers who were making Indian electronica, right? Electronic music. So there were 2 DJs, but one of them also played tabla.
Nice. Nice.
So they called it tablatronics, right? And so they would replace certain beats with Indian instrumentation. And then, they would do samplings and things like that and all sorts of interesting things to create the music. They would take, phone recordings. This phone is busy, call back later. They'd incorporate samples, news clippings and this, that.
Got it.
To make their music. But it wasn't working in India. Because India they wanted a DJ to come and play Hindi remix.
Got it.
Bollywood remix. So these 2 boys were, so I built them a small studio in my basement. Well, it was a pretty large studio. It was a large space. And then, they would make their music and we would do some gigs and, because they weren't playing popular music, they wouldn't get booked by other promoters. So I used to organize the gigs for them to play.
Got it.
So we literally started a nightclub in Ahmedabad.
Wow.
Yeah, there's no daru. You drink in your car and come. Right? But it was good fun. But from there, then when I moved to Dubai, I took them with me because I wanted them to get exposed to a space which is beyond India. Work with some other producers from other markets. And also from Dubai, it was easier to travel. So, mentoring them was probably one of the most fulfilling things in my life.
And who are they?
The bands, they are called Bandish Project and Nuclear.
There you go.
So big up to Bandish Project and Nuclear. I love you, boys.
What a story. What a story. This, it kind of reminds me of, actually it's a very funny thing. A star is born Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. and the best part about the whole thing is, in all her press conferences, she spoke about her tryst with acting. She was already like this famous singer and whatever, and she said, and it's actually almost comedic. She repeats the same story or same lines in about 10 press conferences. And there's a YouTube clipping of her doing that. It's very amusing. What she says is, if there are 100 people in a room and 99 people don't believe in you and one person believes in you, that's good enough.
Yes.
And every time she says that, she looks at Bradley Cooper, because Bradley Cooper convinced her that you could do this role, and it will be a great movie, and it will succeed.
Yes.
So I think belief obviously starts with yourself, but when it finds other people, other mirrors who are willing to affirm what you've been thinking all along, I think that's a beautiful way to just at least get your feet off the ground.
Yes.
And then, let headwinds catch you later.
Absolutely.
But I think like how you trusted Nuclear and Bandish, right? And you saw it and you invested and they're where they are right now. Amazing. Awesome.
But it's also about, I was very lucky in my career that, there were some senior people who took the time to guide me, to sit down with me and go, hey, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? Let me show you a better way to do this, right? Who took the time to mentor me, right? So it behooves me to pass it on, right?
Beautiful.
I got it from someone. I need to pass it on. I can't keep it with me, right? So that's my life mantra. I pass it on whenever I get a chance, right? Because he's watching. He gave you the opportunity. You have the power. Now, please pass it on.
I think that's very warm and generous of you. I'd like to counter that by giving you a sense of what the other side of the world looks like. I read this somewhere and it's beautiful. All guests make us happy. Some when they arrive, some when they leave. So I think leaders also, they're also figuring out their way, right? Some leaders come along who teach you what are the things to do. And some leaders walk along and teach you, definitely this is not who I'm going to become or I will be. I think both ways you're learning lessons.
Yes.
It's just different ways to go about it.
Yes.
Mehirr, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I'll look forward to circling back to you in the near future again. Till then, have a blast, my friend.
Thank you so much. It's absolutely been my pleasure to be on the show, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Big
Thank you
honor
so
for me.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.